Hey there, welcome to the NC Barndo Build channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today's video, we are putting our plumbing plan that we did in the previous video, we're putting that into practice, and I'm getting started on the main drain line. This is going to be the beginning of our drainage system for the house. So we're going to put a clean out here. This is going to be a 3-inch main line that runs down through the center of the house, and all of our branches will tie into this. And then we have an exit point on the other side of that foundation wall. We need to uncover that hole next. But this is going to get us started here. I've actually found the piece of treated board that I use to cover the hole up to prevent all this dirt from going inside the foundation. So we're going to get this uncovered here and get this penetration sealed up, get our pipe in, and we'll be well on our way here to getting started on this plumbing system. A few minutes of digging here in this area, which is called Stony Point. You figure out real quick why it's called that. There's a lot of red clay with rock in it, so it makes for a very pleasant digging experience, if you get my drift. There you have it. There is our beginning of our plumbing system here through the wall. So we're going to go ahead and get this all cleaned out, get the dirt and stuff out of there, and get it prepped for bringing our pipe through. Okay, our hole is cleaned out. Let's go ahead and get some of our fittings and a piece of pipe. Okay, we got our hole cleaned out, and this is a clean out connection. So I have a coupling here and a threaded connection that will allow access for later on if we have a plumbing issue, a clog. We can take that off, and I'm just going to kind of dry fit stuff together here. So we're at probably about 11 inches, and if we add another 1.5 inches, just make it 12 inches tall. And I think that will suffice. All right, this is what the finished product looks like. Man, that is perfect right there. We're going to bring it out. I say we bring it out to probably right in here. Well, let's go ahead and glue this all up. A couple things here real quick while I'm gluing these pieces together. The 2018 North Carolina Building Code dictates you got to use purple primer or the special primer that requires the UV light to see it. And if you decide to use the more expensive stuff that requires the light, you have to provide the inspector with the light in order to see the primer. So I'm just going the easy route here and the less expensive route and using the purple primer. What you're going to see in the next segment of the clip here is the sleeve that we put in. So this is the pipe, this is the actual sewer pipe, the clean out, and then it goes inside of a sleeve which we've already mortared in, and that'll come up on the next segment here. You'll kind of get a good look at that, and then this slips down inside that sleeve. Here's a look at the outside of the sleeve. We are all done mortared on the inside and the outside. Here's the finished product. So we have our 3-inch drain line that runs through a 4-inch PVC sleeve. We put some construction sealant in between the sleeve and the pipe. And then I put some liquid flashing, some construction sealant here where we had the fresh mortar. So that should all be watertight. Backfilled it in with some road berm to help hold things in place, and we should be watertight, ready to go. And this will serve as our clean out for the beginning of the drain line. We'll be able to snake it all the way down through the house. We are on day 2 of putting our plan into action, and what I've done is we're at the exit point of the building drain and where it turns into a building sewer. So I've just laid out some 4-inch pipe. This is actually thin wall PVC with some 45s, just to kind of get an idea of how I want to run this into the septic tank, because we're going to have to trench this in and grade it down. And I've dug this hole. We're down about 2 feet approximately, and with this hard rocky clay, it's very hard to dig. So we've brought some muscle today to help us get this trenched in. But before we get the equipment out, I'm going to go ahead and mark everything so I know exactly where I need to dig my trenches, and then we'll get our laser set up so we can shoot grades. So let's get to it. For those that have been around the channel for a while, this brings back some interesting memories here when we dug our test holes for our septic system for the environmental health. Let's see if we learned anything. Okay, we have a little bit of a stump here that I'm going to try to remove. This is a 2,500 pound unit. It's a Bobcat. I think an E10, E11, whatever it says on the side there. I think around 1,000 pounds of breakout force. So we're going to get used to the controls here. I have 8 hours to burn on this thing, so it's not going to take me nearly that much to dig that, hopefully. So we're just going to spend a little bit of time here playing with this stump and see if we can't get it out, and in the meantime we'll be learning the controls, and hopefully that'll help us when we go over there. All these pieces of machinery are a little bit different. The controls operate a little differently. I've never run a Bobcat before, so let's see how this goes. So I rented this thing on a Saturday, and the rental store was open from 8 to noon on Saturday, closed on Sunday. So renting it for a full day gives me 8 hours on the hobs, and I had all day pretty much Saturday and all day Sunday. So I thought might as well get my money's worth here and use the hours up on it, and get some of these stumps out of the yard that I've been mowing around all summer. And plus it gives me a little practice operating the machine, so when we get digging the trench we can be accurate with the depth and the width. All right, we're going to step it up a notch and see if we can get this thing out. A little bit of a bigger stump, although it's been in this condition, I'm going to say, for at least 5 to 6 years. So let's see. Full disclosure on these stumps, these things don't have any new growth on them. They're not, no stump sprouts, so they're completely dead. The termites have been working on them, and I think that really helped me get these things out of the ground. They're rotted pretty good. But with that being said, I have tried to remove some of these small ones with my Mahindra. If you're new to the channel, I have a 38 horse Mahindra tractor with a loader, and I've tried to move some of these, pop them out of the ground, and they just don't want to go. So I think the key with removing these stumps is digging around them and cutting off the roots that shoot horizontally, and then all you have to deal with is the vertical tap root. And once you get those horizontal roots cut, they seem to pop out pretty good. Pretty impressive actually for this little bitty machine, and I'm impressed with it so far. All right, one more, I promise. Let's see if this thing has met its match with this stump. Pretty old again, but we'll see. I thought, what the heck? Why not step it up one more size here and try to take this big stump out? Again, it's rotted pretty good. No new growth on it, and the termites have been working on it. But this one took a little more of an effort. I think the bigger the stump, the deeper you have to go with the trench that you dig around it just to cut those roots off. And then you'll see here, this one topples over pretty easy once I get the horizontal roots all cut off. And I do, after we get the trench done, I don't video it, but I do go down to the lane. There's a couple of stumps that did have new growth on them, still alive, and I was able to pop those out. Probably not quite as big as this one, but very close. And yeah, no problem. You just dig around it and take your time, and you're able to pop them out. All right, enough playing. Back on the build here. We're marking the ground where I need to cut this trench in for our pipe. This thin-walled PVC, I'm just using it as a marker. Everything that you see in the trenches is going to be Schedule 40. So the first thing I do is shoot some grades. So I'm taking a shot here to see where I'm at, and then I take a shot over by the septic tank, that white pipe sticking out of the ground just to the left of the excavator bucket, to see how much fall I have. And then once I have that figured out, I can come back, see how many linear feet I am away, or how much pipe I have to lay down into the trench, so I can calculate my drop. Code has anywhere from an 1/8 inch to a 1/2 inch slope per foot. That's the minimum. The smaller the pipe, my understanding is the smaller the pipe, the more slope you want. They don't specify a maximum slope in the 2018 North Carolina building code, but you need to be careful. If you put too much slope, I would say anything over that 1/2 inch on these bigger pipes, you run the risk of the water running away from the solids, and then you got yourself a clog. So just be mindful of that, which is why you'll see where I put the drop pipe in over by the septic tank. It's just too much fall, and I don't have enough linear feet to take care of that with a proper slope. I'm shooting for a 1/4 inch drop per foot on all these pipes. Next, it's time to get the tape measure out, check linear feet over to the septic tank. And the way the 2018 North Carolina building code is written, if your septic tank or your private sewer is more than 10 feet away from the building, then you must bump up your pipe size from a 3-inch to a 4-inch. And for me, that is the case. I'm well over 10 feet. So we had to bump it up at the transition from where it goes from a building drain to a building sewer. Now it's time to get the excavator back out and get this trench dug. And I'm by no means a professional at this. I think this is maybe the second or third time I've run an excavator. So my word of advice to other DIYers out there, take your time. It's easier to go back and dig a little extra, get off, check, shoot some grades. You can always dig a little extra, but if you got to put it back in, you got to tamp it down, and it's a lot more work. So just take your time and go slow. So we're 4'7" here, and we need, for every 4 feet, we need an inch of fall. We're about 4 feet here, so we're at about 2 inches of fall there. So roughly 4 to 5 feet. So we're probably a little bit deep here, but as we go back here, so we have 28 feet of run here. You divide that by 4, that's 7. So I need to be 7 inches lower over here than there. So if I take 4, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 5'2" is kind of where I need to be dropping into my septic tank if I want about a 1/4 inch of fall. And we're all the way down. We're over a foot deep. We're about 6'4" here. So what I need to do is we're going to come over and we're going to drop straight down and in, as opposed to having too much fall. You don't want too much, because then your water runs away from your solids, and then you ended up with a plugged line. So we'll run it to grade all the way over here and then drop it in. And I've put a mark here. This is where I need to be, basically on the top of the ground here. So we're just start nice and shallow and dig back this way. And then as we come this way, we'll also pick the grade up. And we're making pretty good progress now. I think the dirt is a little bit easier to dig, and I'm a little bit better with the machine. So let's keep going here and get up to this point, and we'll see where we're at and see if we like it. Guys, the only other thing I can think of worth mentioning for this project is the fact that I used 45 angles instead of 90s. I think anywhere that you can make a turn more gradual, as opposed to putting a 90-degree bend in a sewer line, I think you're just better off. Less chance of things getting plugged up. So that's kind of why I decided on this design where I kind of 45'd it twice and made it kind of a gradual turn over into the septic tank. Could you come out, put a 90 in and go straight over? Sure. But I think this was probably a little bit of a better way to do it to prevent clogs in the future. Hey, it's time to bust out the shovel, a little manual labor, which for me is good because sitting in the cockpit for my daily job doesn't give me a lot of exercise. So this is good for me to get the shovel out. And you'll see here, we have to get the hand tamper out as well. Here you go, guys. Trench is done. We've put a level on this pipe. We got about 3/8 fall there. And then coming back here, you can kind of see where we're at with the fall on that guy in between 1/4 and 3/8, which is about perfect for this, for a 4-inch pipe, and we got the same there. Just like we did with the other hole on the other side, we're gonna have to grout that in, put a sleeve in it, and we'll be good to go there. We can slip our pipe through and we can come out and hook everything up. But the trench is dug. All we need to do now, it's not completely perfectly level underneath, so we'll just bring in some gravel, pack it down, and make a nice bed for our pipes to set in. All right, guys, we have our section of pipe. This is going to act as our sleeve. We're going to slip it in this hole down here. It's perfect. I got about 1 inch sticking out on both ends. That'll allow me to pack this mortar in. This mortar, I make it just a little bit not soupy. I'm mixing it just a little bit on the dry side. That way I can pack it in there. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to put this pipe in. I'll give you guys a look at the end here. There's a look at the outside of the pipe. All finished up. Let's go take a look on the inside. There's a look at the inside. All mortared up, cleaned up. Now we have to put our insulation back in and we'll be ready to go. Last night we got quite a bit done. We got our clean out installed, 2-way. It goes left or right, 3-inch. Here's where it changes from a building drain to a building sewer. So I go from 3 to 4-inch. Ran it down. We got to make the turn here over, drop it down into the septic tank. So let's get going and get this finished up today. Well, more manual labor here. We've returned the equipment, so now it's everything else has to be done by hand. And you can see I'm tamping the dirt down as well. Try to get the grade on that trench perfect. And when you are tamping dirt back into your trench, you can't just put a bunch of dirt in there and tamp it down. You have to do it in what they call lifts. Just do little by little and tamp each layer down individually. And since we had glued this piece of pipe in already, I got the handsaw out to make the 45 bend. I just didn't like, the pipe was a little bit too long and I didn't like the angle that it was heading over to the septic tank, so we had to shorten it up just a little bit. So just some small fine tuning to get this as close to perfect as I possibly can. This is the last place I want issues, because if you have issues here, this means digging it all up. And when this is all said and done, the final grade, this stuff's going to be pretty deep, comparatively speaking, I guess. Most places, this stuff isn't that deep. I mean, my septic tank's probably going to be almost 4 feet deep, which is a bit excessive. I think maybe that was a little bit of a planning mistake when we put it in, but I'd rather, I guess, have too much than not enough and have to pump things up the hill. But again, I guess that's what you get when you're doing these projects yourself and learning as you go. So I'll be better off for it, and if I ever have to do another build, I kind of have the experience behind me now. Now it's just a matter of putting the primer on and then gluing all these fittings in, holding them that 30 seconds so they don't work themselves out. And we'll give you a look here in a little bit of the finished product of everything all hooked up. I was so excited about passing inspection on our sewer line that I almost forgot to give you guys a final look at the finished product. So let's take a look at this before I cover the rest of it up. Right there, we're coming out of the foundation wall, 3-inch clean out. It's a two-way, you can go left or right. An increaser, so we go from 3 to 4. That's where it changes from the drain to the sewer. And then we run down, 45 it, and since my septic tank sits pretty low compared to the house, you can see the grade here. I had to put this drop pipe in, and then it turns sideways, goes into the septic tank. So since I have two 90-degree bends, what we'll do when we get the finished grade out here, I'll put a riser pipe on here, and that'll serve as a clean out. If we ever have trouble with this section here plugging up for whatever reason, I'll have an easy access point to clean it out when it goes into the septic tank. Unfortunately, the septic is going to be probably 3 to 4 feet underground. So if I have to pump it, dig it up, that's going to be a project. But I have a marker pipe here, and I have my marker here. We have our tracer wire on top of our pipe as well. So if I ever have to dig the pipe up, I have a way to trace the pipe. All that is an aluminum wire, insulated aluminum wire, to help me find it in the future. And that's about all there is to the building sewer. So we're going to go ahead and cover the rest of this up, kind of get a nice rough grade over here, and then we'll move on into the plumbing inside the house, which I'm really excited about. So we're going to stop this video here today. We'll leave you with a little bit of backfilling, and we'll see you guys on the next video.